Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how I do the wiring on a classic vehicle to get it to at least start and run. And when I say classic, we're talking about pretty much anything before 1980 or so, when they really started introducing advanced electronics and computer systems. Now the reason for this video is because I've come across tons of classic vehicles where the wiring was done incorrectly on the ignition or the starting system. Usually it's one of two reasons. The first is that somebody has done an engine swap in the past, usually from an inline 6 to a small block or a small block to a big block, and whoever did the conversion wired it up incorrectly. The second reason is because classic vehicles break down a lot, and when they do, there's often a temporary fix that will get the vehicle off the side of the road, and sometimes those temporary fixes turn into permanent ones. Maybe it's the ignition switch, maybe it's the resistor for the ignition coil, maybe it's just a fuse, but somebody bypasses it on the side of the road and then it's never corrected. And I believe that's the issue that I've got on the vehicle that I'm working on today. Somebody has miswired it long ago. The previous owner was on his third ignition switch when I picked it up. He burned up the third one while I was there, and so he ended up having to start it up with a screwdriver. So let me show you what's wrong with it, and let me show you how to fix it. Alright guys, this is what we are working on today. I know, it's not a classic car, it is a forklift, but it is wired up basically identically to any vehicle made before 1980 or so, and some of the modifications that have been done to it already are the same ones that I've seen time and time again on classic cars. So let's take a look at those modifications to see where they went wrong. Starting off here, we've got a GM style alternator. This is a very common conversion for any old engine that had a generator on it because alternators are better than generators. Now this is simple. You've got a one wire activator, and then you see they hook up this red wire directly to the battery connector. There should be a larger gauge wire right here directly to the battery. This, I don't know, what is that, 12 gauge? That would probably be okay if they had a fusible link, but they do not. Well, not only do they not have a fusible link, there isn't one fuse on this entire vehicle. Another modification they did, you see this little homemade bracket right here, that houses this starter solenoid. This is the reason that he was going through ignition switches. You could make this one work, but I'm going to be replacing it with a different style. I'll show you that later. Otherwise, the ignition coil and the distributor, those are hooked up more or less normally. I've got a couple modifications that I did. You see right here, this is our temporary ignition switch, and then this little trunk release button, I'm using that as a starter. That is just to get this thing running around enough to use it a couple times and then drive it into the shop. As far as these gauges go, the only one that is currently working is my hour meter. I'm going to be replacing the amp meter, oil pressure gauge, and then the water temperature gauge, and that is actually a bulk of the wiring for this vehicle. So since those are going to be replaced with mechanical gauges, I can actually pull every single wire off this, and I think I can get away with probably just one fuse. So I'll wire it up for the ignition and start today so that you guys can see that. It'll be nice and clean, and then in another episode I'll do the gauges in case you guys want to see that too. So let's get started. Alright guys, here is all the forklift wiring. It's a little bit too jumbled to make much sense of it on the table here, so what I did was hopped on the computer and made two schematics, one that shows you how it's currently wired up, and then one that shows you how I'm going to. So let's hop on the computer now. Alright guys, here is our current wiring setup. It is very simple, it is very common, it is also incorrect. Starting with the battery, we're sending power to our ignition switch. From the ignition switch, we're going to the ignition coil, then to the distributor, then to the spark plugs. We also have another terminal here, which sends power to the starter solenoid, which then sends power to the starter. The problem with this setup is that once we have our starter engaged, the current draw is so strong through our starter that we're oftentimes not getting enough voltage through the ignition switch to the coil, to the distributor, to the spark plugs. So you end up with either no spark or a very weak spark, which presents itself as a weak start. The engine will crank, 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 and then once you stop cranking it, the engine will fire up because now your ignition switch is sending more voltage to your coil. This setup ends up burning up ignition switches, which is exactly the issue that I've got. Now there are three little modifications that we can make to make this safe and reliable, so let me show you that here. Starting at the battery, we're now sending power through a fuse, which will help keep the vehicle from burning to the ground. On the ignition line here, we now have a resistor, which will help protect the points inside our distributor. Now, if you're running an electronic ignition like a Protronix, the resistor is not necessary, but we still have points, so it's a good idea. And then the last modification right here, we are now running a 4-terminal starter solenoid, so when the solenoid is activated through that green wire right there. Not only does it send power to the starter, but it also steals a little bit of that, bypasses your resistor, and sends it directly to the ignition coil, giving you the strongest spark possible. So let's get this harness built. Alright guys, I've got my wiring all cut to length and laid out right here. I am using just some excess wiring that I keep for just such an occasion. For the resistor, I'm using this right here. I got this from a blaster coil that I was using on another project that had a Pertronix ignition, so this wasn't required. For the fuse, I'm just running an inline simple glass fuse. And then for the ignition switch, I'm using a marine style one here because the forklift will live outside most of the time. Let me show you the solenoid. Now I'm mounting it in the same location, but I really didn't like that old bracket. It just looked pretty cheap to me, so I made this new one out of aluminum. You can see the starter solenoid does have two terminals, one for the start and one for the ignition. So let's get this harness built. Alright guys, I will be soldering all of the connections and then applying heat shrink tubing afterwards. It takes just a little bit longer than normal crimping, but you end up with a way better harness in the end. Alright guys, this is how I solder up the connections. I start off with the automatic wire strippers to get a nice clean strip there. And then in this case, I'm going to be using a large ring terminal that will connect to the solenoid, so we make sure it's a good size. It is. Next step is putting the heat shrink tubing over it. And then I dip it in the flux. And get a little bit more on there. There we go. Then I get the terminal on. Once the terminal is on, I'll crimp it. Then we'll go ahead and use a soldering iron, heat up some of that flux, and then I'll get just a little more solder on the end. And there you have it. And we'll get the heat shrink tubing back over it. While it's still a little bit warm, you see it self-shrinks. And then I'll use a heat gun on the end here. There you have it. Now I just have to do that a bunch more. Alright guys, our little harness is all complete. Now this exact harness would work in probably 90% of engines made before 1980. So you could hook this up to pretty much any car, any piece of farm equipment, anything like that, and it would operate just fine. The only thing that I didn't show you is I do have one extra wire hooked up here. This is to the alternator. I didn't show you this in the schematic because I just wanted to focus on the starting and ignition system, but I have that running over here to the accessory side of the switch. That way the alternator is activated once the vehicle is running, but not under starting conditions. So all I have to do is mount this to the forklift, and then over here I've got three little connectors that are going to go to the starter solenoid, and then I've got from the solenoid to the ignition coil this one hookup, and then again right here to the alternator. So let's get this mounted. Alright guys, everything is currently hooked up except for the starter to solenoid, our final connection there. I do that just so I can test everything out. So I've got my little multimeter set up here. We do have the black lead hooked up to a ground. First things first, let's test out our battery. Battery's looking good, 12.76 volts. We'll check these two small terminals, make sure we're not getting any voltage there. 0, 0. The key is currently in the off position. Nothing here. Okay. So I'll put the key in the on position. We should have voltage to our ignition right there and no voltage to the starter. That's correct. All right, let's go ahead and turn the key. We should hear a nice little click. Good. Now let's double check the voltage here on the starter side. Good. Okay, now one thing I wanted to show you guys, the difference between this solenoid and the old solenoid that only had the one terminal. When we look at our ignition right here, we are at 12.28 volts. That's because we are going through that resistor, which is going to drop the voltage a little bit. When I turn the key, there's going to be two things that happen. First, you're not going to see any drop in voltage. So it's not going to go down to 0 and then back up to 12 like it would if you were running the ignition coil through only the ignition switch. And you will notice actually an increase. Let's go ahead and turn the key. So you see it jumps up 0.2 volts. Not a ton, but it's jumping that voltage, and that is because when we turn the key on, we are bypassing our resistor and sending just a little bit more voltage to the ignition coil. So that is the benefit that will protect our ignition switch and make this system last a lot longer. So let's go ahead and make our final connection, and then we'll fire it up. Alright guys, sorry about the fan noise. The forklift is a little on the stinky side, so I want to keep the gases out of here. Let's see if it fires up. Alright, turns up. Well, look at that. Nice. Alright guys, there you have it. We've completed the starting and ignition wiring on our classic engine. We also did the charging, even though I didn't delve too much into that. I think everything came out super clean. I'm very happy with it. Now, if you guys are interested in following along on the gauges, that's going to be in a future episode. And again, it's going to be basically identical to changing out mechanical gauges on any old engine. So that'll probably be in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Take care.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.